In the MCU so far, the only person we've seen wield the powerful Infinity Gauntlet was none other than Thanos himself. But imagine how it works in the hands of others.
I'm one of the greatest minds of the 21st century.
Well, a long history of Marvel Comics have featured numerous other characters wearing the gauntlet. From some key members of the Avengers to some surprising non-human characters, learn who else had the power of the gauntlet, and used it for both good and evil.
Get on with it!
In Avengers Infinity War, Peter Parker nearly had the thing pulled off Thanos when Star-Lord had to go and screw everything up.
Tell me you didn't do it!
But things were much different in the comic series Avengers and the Infinity Gauntlet. Working alongside other Marvel heroes like Wolverine and Miss Marvel, Spidey used a quick web attack to snatch up the gauntlet from an unsuspecting Thanos. When Spider-Man put the gauntlet on in the story, he didn't snap his fingers, travel back in time, or really use anything physically powerful with the charged-up glove. Instead, the web-slinger goes all Aladdin on the gauntlet and makes a wish that Thanos never had the gauntlet in the first place. Cue the Time Stone, or Time Gem for the comic books, to do a little reverse action and undo Thanos' actions up until that point. Spider-Man used his Spidey smarts in the right way. Instead of resorting to powerful and violent physical attacks, he used the gauntlets smartly and helped defeat Thanos in the process. Not a bad move considering how much the power of the stones can overtake your mind when wearing the gauntlet. If you're looking to add a little style while wearing the gauntlet, look no further than Black Panther. His sleek black costume goes great with the gold glove, and he got to showcase his superhero fashion wardrobe in the Marvel Secret Wars comics. Released back in 2015, T'Challa had to assemble the Infinity Gauntlet with the help of Namor the Submariner. Upon receiving the gauntlet from Doctor Strange, Black Panther finds himself in the capital city of Latveria, Doomstad. And if the name of that city rings any bells, that's because it's the home base of operations for the OG Fantastic Four Big Daddy Baddie of them all, Dr. Doom.
What would you have Wakanda do about it?
Luckily for Black Panther, and unluckily for Doom, T'Challa is able to unleash the Infinity Gauntlet's full might upon the Latverian ruler. Proving no match for the cosmic accessory, Doom is defeated, and T'Challa travels back in time to the point where he once discovered parallel worlds with Doctor Strange. The panels and artwork of Black Panther wearing and doing battle with the Infinity Gauntlet are truly epic. It gives us all hope that one day we see the same thing on the live-action big screen. Imagine jolly old Saint Nick wielding the almighty Infinity Gauntlet. Yep, Marvel went there. In the Marvel 2009 Holiday Spectacular, the gauntlet falls into the hands of Santa, and he wears the thing without giving a second thought.
I'm afraid I've never seen anything like it.
So, does Santa use it to instantly deliver presents? Go back in time to give the naughty list children one more chance at being good? Nope. It turns him all out evil as the power of the stones go to his head, and Santa unleashes havoc upon the world. Here comes Santa Claus attacking all the Avengers, yikes! You like that? Either way, after heroes like Doctor Strange and Iron Man use their powers to try and stop Santa, it just takes a single snowball to knock the gauntlet off. We can imagine by Marvel Phase 6 or 7, they'll have gone through enough material to seek out this story for the big screen.
Now tell me about it.
If there's one character who can make wearing the gauntlet look and feel incredible, it's the Incredible Hulk. Of course, the big green giant had minimal screen time in Avengers Infinity War, but just imagine how much he would have stayed out to play if he got his hands on Thanos' powerful glove. Well, just open up the pages of Ultimate Comics Ultimates, Volume 25 to get a pretty good idea. And no, you're not looking at an artist error. Just like everything else in Marvel's crazy Ultimate world, things are bigger and better, meaning there are 2 Infinity Gauntlets in the story with a total of 8 different gems to collect. The Grey Hulk wore both gloves, and even though not all of the gems filled them, he had immense power for the brief time he wore them. Thankfully, all the power didn't last too long, because Iron Man got control of the gems, and eventually an appearance by Wolverine destroyed them all. So more ultimate destruction was prevented. What could possibly be next? Yep, it's a dog. But not just any old pooch. One of the most powerful canines in the Marvel Universe. Well, the comic book side of things anyway. While we wait for a true big screen debut of the character Lockjaw, we can enjoy the dog's adventures in the fun comic book series known as Lockjaw and the Pet Avengers. This is a real thing. Google it. And yes, we all know what you're thinking. How could a dog possibly wear the gauntlet and even know what to do with it? Well, Lockjaw doesn't technically slip the gauntlet over his muddy paws, but he does collect all of the Infinity Gems thanks to the power of the Mind Gem. He gathers his animal buddies to collect all of the gems and then gives them to Mr. Fantastic to do as he pleases. Imagine how many treats Lockjaw deserves for getting the most powerful gems in the universe. Using the Infinity Gauntlet requires a lot of responsibility, caring, and the ability to know exactly what to do with all of that power. So who's the best candidate for this? Well, none other than the dedicated soldier, Captain America. So what was Steve Rogers' task when wearing the gauntlet? Oh, just pushing a whole planet away from colliding with the Earth. Yep, the classic American folk story of moving planets around with your fists. And Captain America didn't just stumble across the Infinity Gauntlet and slide it onto his fist. He was chosen to wear the gauntlet by none other than the Illuminati. All of this took place in the new Avengers series, and despite being new, the same old Steve Rogers was ever present as a leader and moral compass for stopping the potential end of Earth. 5 of the 6 gems were absolutely destroyed in the process, while the Time Gem just disappeared into nothing.
Come on!
We're just a little surprised he didn't paint the gauntlet red, white, and blue to match his shield. If you were worried when someone like Thanos was wearing the gauntlet, just imagine how bad things could get when other evil villains get control. This is exactly the case with Doctor Doom, the iconic Marvel comic book villain who has not yet appeared in the MCU due to former contract agreements and character ownership problems with 20th Century Fox. In the Fantastic Four series, Doom was able to yield 2 gauntlets at the same time, thanks to the ability to travel to other universes. So, not only were we introduced to the Parliament of Doom filled with other Doctor Doom villains, but the leader had 2 gauntlets to yield power with. And if you thought that would give him the most power, well, you'd be wrong. In the What If Secret Wars Volume 1 series, Doctor Doom got powers beyond his own scope, as he literally became a mortal god thanks to gaining the abilities of the Beyonder in this story arc. By the time he gathered the Infinity Gauntlet, his powers were slightly increased, but the glove was more a vanity piece than something he even needed to consider using. In the classic story of like father, like daughter, Nebula follows in Thanos' footsteps when she wears the Infinity Gauntlet. Back during the classic Infinity War comic book arc, Nebula was much like her big screen counterpart, and at odds with Thanos. Nebula seeking out the gauntlet doesn't come with any heroic intentions or a true change from her evil ways. The whole process is all personal, as Nebula seeks to gain revenge on Thanos for torturing her with the gauntlet before. When she does wield it, she becomes an unlikely hero, reversing all of the actions Thanos took and restoring all of the lost lives in the process. Unfortunately, turning back time also put her in a state where her whole body was completely burned. Adam Warlock then stepped in to create some disharmony between the gems, forcing Nebula to remove it and lose her temporary power. The Nebula and Thanos connection has been made even stronger in the movies, making us all wonder if she'll get a chance to don the gauntlet during Endgame. It's probably not a good idea to mix silver and gold, but Silver Surfer has to figure this out the hard way when he wore the gauntlet for an extended storyline arc. Thankfully for the classic Marvel character, his role with the gauntlet was a part of the What If series, and not actually included within Marvel canon. The Silver Surfer quickly lets the power get to his head as he makes all kinds of crazy changes, uses his power above others, and ultimately makes you question whether he is actually in control, or if the gauntlet is. Thankfully, love is the answer for the Silver Surfer. Shala Bal is given a crazy amount of powers from the Silver Surfer, but she stays grounded and humble. In the end, she convinces the Silver Surfer to give up his power and remove the gauntlet from his hand. If you've only stuck to Infinity War on the big screen, then you may not be familiar with one of the key players who is responsible for taking down Thanos' reign of terror. The man known as Adam Warlock. Warlock was the last person to wear the Infinity Gauntlet in the Infinity Gauntlet miniseries, and the powerful being's journey continued in the Infinity War and Infinity Crusade. Instead of using the gauntlet outwardly on those around him, Warlock uses the powers internally, turning himself into a completely logical person, removing the evil and good elements from his mind.
Okay, that probably didn't help explain things.
Well, obviously this move backfires a little bit. Well, a lot. Because of his actions, his evil persona Magus is brought back to life, a man who wants to destroy the universe, and Adam Warlock in the process. And while most characters get to run free and rampant with the Infinity Gauntlet, Warlock doesn't get the same treatment. He actually has to go to trial to deem whether he is worthy of wearing the gauntlet. And thanks to his actions and the return of Magus, he's deemed unworthy after all. He should have used the gauntlet to get out of that court case. Unlike Thanos or Adam Warlock, or pretty much anyone else who's worn the gauntlet, there is no moral code for Magus to follow. The dude's pure evil. Along with creating a world of evil superhero doppelgangers, Magus has no allies, setting supervillains like Thanos in his sights. Thankfully, when Magus first wears the gauntlet, the powers are not active, because the entity who controls them was incapacitated. This doesn't last too long though, as Magus gains the power back and quickly uses it to defeat Dr. Doom. Out of the messy struggle, the entity Infinity is born, and thanks to Adam Warlock's help, Magus is stopped, and the Infinity Gauntlet is removed from his possession. For the issue What If Infinity Dark Reign, we get to see the Green Goblin wear the gauntlet, and essentially become Spider-Man's worst nightmare. Just how bad is it for Spidey? He puts the web-slinger in an endless nightmare, reliving Gwen Stacy's death over and over again. A pretty brutal move by the Goblin, but one that's powerful enough to keep Spider-Man distracted while he causes even more chaos. Instead of attacking innocent victims, the Goblin next goes after Thanos, killing the Purple Beast with ease. But thanks to the nifty what-if scenario, the story gets wrapped up before we even reach the back cover. Some father-son drama and a little time travel causes Norman to lose the gauntlet and end Spider-Man's torture in the process. There have been 2 different times when Mr. Fantastic has worn the Infinity Gauntlet, and each one showcased how much power goes to his head. The first was in the official Fantastic Four comic book. Connecting to different Reed Richards across multiple universes, the group of Mr. Fantastic characters formed the Interdimensional Council of Reeds.
Yeah, murmur it up, D-bags.
So, who led this group of matching characters? Well, all of the ones who wielded the Infinity Gauntlet. So not only does the Earth 616 Reed wear the gauntlet, but so do the others who have obtained a gauntlet of their own. Naturally, these leaders have a whole lot of power, but they often use the power for good. They stopped threats posed to their own universes, often sacrificing the personal lives they left behind. And when Reed wasn't hanging out with other versions of himself or the other members of the Fantastic Four, he was with another group, Marvel's Illuminati.
Incredible.
It was within this group that Reed got to wear the gauntlet again and becomes pretty tempted by all that power. Thankfully, he is able to gain a little control and gives up the gauntlet before too much damage is done.
Nothing is more important to me than our future together.
Tony Stark is pretty used to wearing some powerful gloves while suited up as Iron Man, but he must have felt his suit paled in comparison once he got his advanced mitts on the Infinity Gauntlet. For a mortal like Stark, wearing the gauntlet is an overwhelming task, but our hero is able to save the day in the Avengers comic series when he stops the Hood by using the gauntlet's powers. And while the power in the Golden Glove is unlimited, Stark knew his own limits and quickly stopped using it. And while he wore the original gauntlet in the comic books, the crafty Stark on the big screen definitely has the tech and ability to make one of his own. For a guy who helped create so many suits and Ultron as well, making a new gauntlet to hold all those stones should be a breeze.
I guess we'll find out.
Darkside may not be a Marvel character, far from it in fact, but the DC supervillain definitely was able to get his hands on the Infinity Gauntlet thanks to a Justice League and Avengers crossover. Darkside has already had plenty of comparisons to Marvel, since Thanos pretty much ripped him off.
What are you, his lawyer? Get out of here. Let him sue me. Get rich like a normal person.
So it's pretty fitting to see the character wear the Infinity Gauntlet. It almost feels like Thanos' brother or cousin trying the thing on for size. In a great twist, Darkseid doesn't yield the same power as Thanos, simply because he wears the gauntlet while in the DC universe. In short, the Infinity Stones mean absolutely nothing there, and Darkseid is mostly wearing the gauntlet for show. Although it would have been pretty cool to see the ways he could use it to torture Justice League members like the Flash, Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman.
Yeah, that's what that means.
It's so cool.
Either way, Darkseid isn't the only DC character to hold on to the gauntlet. The Flash got a grip of it as well, but he actually only held it and never slipped it over his lightning-fast hands. We can definitely imagine another crossover in the future where the gauntlet comes into play a little bit more for DC characters.
This corset is really uncomfortable. So could we all just wrap it up and go home?
So now that you know who has held it, who do you want to hold it next? Which character would have the most power with it on? Should Santa have another chance for some magical Christmas power? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to ScreenRant for more great content.